IT infrastructure flexibility has become a key design imperative in recent years, with organizations investing in software-defined approaches to IT design, as well as cloud-native application environments. While these approaches can offer powerful benefits, they can also create a costly side effect, and that's by perpetuating or propagating this idea that hardware is just a commodity. In reality, design differences exist among manufacturers, and at modern scale, changes in reliability or efficiency can deliver huge benefits or create huge costs. With that in mind, I'm joined by Steve Wilkins from Western Digital to talk about some really interesting data and a really interesting study that they've done on the impacts of enclosure design. Steve, thanks for joining me today. Can you walk us through what you found?
Sure, Scott. So, as you can imagine, we monitor very carefully our field data. And as you know, a lot of the returns from the field are actually not drive failures, but are as a result of a temporary thermal or vibration event. 2.5 years ago, when we were designing some new products for the data center, we incorporated some technologies in there in terms of the hardware that have really paid off very much. So, in fact, we have seen a reduction in the drive return rates, and that drive return rate has dropped by 62%. That's pretty big.
If you think about it, I mean, a 62% drop in field return rates has a tremendous impact, not only in the financial savings to the business, but also to the time of the IT administrators. The fewer returns, the fewer failures you have, that means less time that IT administrators have to go in, isolate the drive, identify it, and replace it. It also means less time that the RAID group is in a failed state, so the application performance impact is much lower. And also just the risk overall to the data set itself, because essentially the group or the RAID group is in this degraded state far less often. Can you walk us through some of the innovations that Western Digital has added to its enclosure design to really provide these benefits?
Yes, so the first of those is something we call Arctic flow. And this is a much more efficient way to cool a dense shelf. And we do that by dividing it up into unique zones that have their own air supply. The front half is cooled normally, and then that air is ducted away from the rear drives around the outside. The rear drives are fed by a cool air tunnel, and that cools the rear drives. And there's also a duct that goes through into the I/O modules and the power supplies. We can run the fans much slower. And in fact, the power per slot for cooling is about half of that of a conventional box. We save about $1,500 over the 5-year life of the product. When we were designing the product, we did some calculations around the long-term reliability based on the reduced temperatures inside the box. And we discovered that if we did not do that, then our reliability, long-term reliability, would be impacted to the tune of about 13%.
Wow. So, a bunch of numbers there, a lot to unpack, especially that $1,500 number. Per enclosure, that's a significant amount. When you think about it, how many enclosures environments have, I mean, that really adds up. One of the big things at modern densities is not just cooling and power, but also controlling that vibration. Are you guys doing anything at Western Digital to look at vibration control?
Yes, as you rightly say, shock and vibration is really the enemy of hard drive performance. Most of the capacity increases that we've seen in recent years have been squeezing the tracks together. And so it just gets more challenging. So what we have is a patented series of precise cuts in the baseboard that provide a kind of suspension for the drive. This isolates the drive from vibration from the outside, but it also reduces the amount of vibration that each drive emits to its neighbor. The amount of vibration is reduced by about 60%. We also have patented vibration isolated fans with acoustic barriers. And yes, sound does influence drives. You may have seen that YouTube video with the guy shouting at drives and inducing errors. There is also the contribution from Arctic flow that we talked about earlier with the fans running slower. That's less vibration too. So it all works nicely together.
Thanks, Steve, because I had no idea how much innovation was going into Western Digital enclosures. And I think really the key takeaway for all of us to remember is that hardware is not created equal. Western Digital is taking everything that they know about drive technology and putting it into an enclosure design that really maximizes the value of IT infrastructure investment while also reducing the time impact on IT personnel and also, at the end of the day, the overall risk to the business. And these are critical things to consider for any new IT infrastructure project coming forward.